scripture for today comes out of Hebrews 11 and 1. And it's a very familiar scripture, and I'm only going to do one verse, which says, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." And I'm going to start with a story. You know, preachers always have these stories, and I'm going to use one. It's about a man who was out in the wilderness, and suddenly a tiger came out running after him. And the man just ran as fast as he could to get away from the tiger. And he ended up coming up against a cliff. Now imagine you have a cliff in front of you, a tiger running up on you, and what are you going to do? Well, he looked down and he saw a branch that was maybe a few feet below. So he jumped off the cliff and grabbed the branch. And it was about 1,000 feet away down to the ground. And so he had to hang on for a little while. But while he was hanging on, a rodent came out on the branch and started to eat away at it. So seeing this situation, the man looked up and he said, "God, I need some help. Please help me." And then he didn't hear anything. And so he said it again, "God, if you hear me, please help me. I'll do anything you tell me to do." And so he heard this voice come from above, and it said, "Okay, let go of the branch." And the man looked up and he said, "Is there anybody else up there?" That's a joke. But sometimes we feel that way. Sometimes we've had these difficult situations when we feel like we just don't have any viable good option. So now what do? We're suspended over a cliff. We have trouble and we look around and we don't see any answers. But as hard as it sounds, sometimes, like that man in that joke, in that story, sometimes we have to let go. Sometimes we have to let go and move forward, even when the way forward doesn't come with a map. No GPS, no nothing. We don't even know where our destination is most of the time, much of the time. But we know that standing still or going backwards is not an option. Too often we become paralyzed by fear or held back by chains of hopelessness. But life and time keeps moving forward. The issues keep coming up. Things keep moving forward in our life, even when we don't have answers. Because oftentimes we get paralyzed, and we get paralyzed due to fears that we've projected into the future of things that may or may not even happen. We think things like, what if I make the wrong choice? So we do nothing. What if I don't do it right? So we do nothing. What if my money isn't right? So we do nothing. What if I get sick? So we don't go anywhere. We don't try anything. What if I do the wrong thing? You know, although we should plan for and prepare for the future, we don't yet live there. We're not living down the road. So we can't go back either. We can't go back in time. But what we can do is be here. That's what's so key about our text for today. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. This verse out of the book of Hebrews is one of the most well-known verses in the Bible. The author is unknown, but we do know and believe that it was written in the first century sometime for an audience of Jewish Christians. These were persons who were at a critical point in their faith journey, learning to live in a new religion that often put them at odds with the society that was around them. They needed some words that could keep them moving forward, even in a new and unfamiliar situation. So now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. This verse, this chapter, was to remind them that their ancestors made it through some difficult times by faith. They've made it through bondage in Egypt. They made it through disappointments. They made it through wilderness experiences, and they made it through exile because faith helped them get through it. But for what you're going through right now, You can't depend on historical faith. These people couldn't depend on historical faith in our text, and we can't depend on historical faith for what we're going through right now. Yes, the historical faith is a good foundation. Yes, remembering where God brought you from is a great foundation, but for what's going on in our life right now, we need a now faith. Now faith, present moment faith. This present moment faith is the substance of things hoped for. Now faith. But what is faith? For that definition, I turn to that visionary theologian, Paul Tillich, who describes faith as ultimate concern. He said faith is a total and centered act of unconditional, infinite, and ultimate concern. All of us, every human being has some sort of ultimate concern, which means anything can become a person's God. It could be money, success, fame, sex, justice, power, achievements, nationalism. Tillich said, whatever concerns a man or woman ultimately becomes God for him or her. If a national group makes life and the growth of a particular group, of a nation, a party, or a race its ultimate concern, it demands that all other concerns, economic well-being, health of life, family, cognitive truth, justice, and humanity, it demands that all of that is sacrificed. You know, we've seen some of this when it comes to some of our politicians of present day that have made nationalism, have made a certain race and made a certain party ultimate concern. And like Tillich would remind us, when we do that, everything else becomes sacrificed. Equality becomes sacrificed. Well-being of the masses becomes sacrificed. Because eventually, when we make other things other than God, our God, everything else becomes like a demon if we make it our ultimate concern. The message of the text, however, was a reminder that for the foundation of these people who heard this text, this Jewish Christian history, throughout that history, their ultimate concern was Yahweh. Their ultimate concern had been God. And Jesus reminded his followers to love God first and love your neighbor as you love yourself. Your ultimate concern should always be love, which is God, that your ultimate concern ought to be God. When God is our ultimate concern, our faith will tell us that we are God's ultimate concern. Right where we are, whatever we're going through, right now faith, not tomorrow faith, not yesterday's faith, but now faith is the substance of things hoped for. I remember when I moved to Atlanta, I didn't have all the answers. I was living in New Jersey and I didn't have any family in Georgia. I had never been to Georgia, but I had faith. I knew I needed to go to seminary in Georgia. I knew there was something for me in Georgia, but I had to just have faith. New Jersey was solid for me. Georgia was kind of foggy. I didn't really know, but I had faith. And I knew that wherever I was, God was. And wherever I am, God is. And so I had faith to know that when I get there, God will be there because God's already there. Faith doesn't mean just waiting on God. Faith means doing the best you can in everything that you try to do. And then you leave the rest up to God. It was St. Augustine who said, pray as though everything depends on God and work as though everything depends on you. Or Martin Luther King Jr., who said, faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. But some of us, we have doubts. But the truth is, all of us have doubts. But doubt does not zero out your faith. Because we're reminded by Tillich also that doubt is not the opposite of faith. Doubt is one element of faith. Because you have doubts. There's no denying it. We all have a plan B. We all have a backup plan. We all have these what ifs. But the truth is, if we have a now faith, our now faith will overcome our doubts. And we won't get stuck by the doubts. Because see, what happens is if you get stuck looking at your doubt, it will not enable you to move forward with your faith. So I'm grateful today to have a now faith, a faith that I know right now is with me, no matter what decision I make, even if it turns out to be not what I would have chosen for my future. But wherever I land, I get a new now faith because God is with us in every moment of our life. Life is going to continue to have challenges. It's going to continue to have decision points where we have to choose this way or that way. But we don't have to stand still because we just need to live with faith in the present moment. We can have that faith if we recognize and always know that God is with us. God is on our side. Even if we land in a place where we thought we didn't want to be, God is there for the next move. And God is there as we stand in that place. My friends, you don't need yesterday's faith, and you don't need to project in the future faith. What you need today is now faith. It's the substance of things hoped for. That's the evidence of things not seen. Now faith. Have faith in God because God has faith in you. Thank you for listening.